Hey everyone, Rock DIY here. I am going to remove and install new strut assemblies on a 2008 Honda CRV EXL. I've got the car jacked up, on jack stands. Get ready to take the tires off. Got the back seats all the way forward. You got one cap over here removed to give me access to the strut assembly underneath, and then this one over here needs to come off. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 6 bolts and 2 nuts that need to be removed to get access to the strut assemblies. For this part of the job, you're going to need a 12mm and a 14mm. For the nuts, those are 14 and the bolts are 12. On the nuts, you will need a deep socket, but for the bolts, you don't necessarily need a deep socket. Alright, once those are all out, we can lift this piece out, and you can see where strut, and these are the 2 bolt heads that are holding the strut in place. Now I need to remove this rear sway bar link, so I've got a 5mm bit and a 14mm box wrench. Rusted so bad it doesn't even want to go on. This piece right here is so corroded. The bit won't even stay in it or grip it. So here's the problem I got right now with the rear stabilizer bolt right here. So the 5mm bit that would normally go in there on the end of the threaded end is completely rusted out, so a 5mm will not fit in there, and I've tried putting other bits in there and it will not hold. So now what I'm going to do is put a small pair of vice grips on the back side of where the sway bar is right here, and then put a wrench on this nut to get it off. But either way, I have to replace these, so I just ordered a set to replace both sides. So I tried to use a pair of needle nose. I can't get a larger pair in there, so I have to use a needle nose. And I have these on there tight as heck on the back side, holding it while I tried to remove the nut, and it just kept, the vice grips just kept coming off. So at this point, I'm just gonna have to cut it off. So I got a little bit of space in there. Probably be easier to cut it here. We'll see what happens. So there we go with sway bar bushing. I had to cut both ends off because it was so rusted I couldn't even get it to unthread. So I used a cutoff wheel. The good thing is that I was able to get a little bit of gap between the bolt and the sway bar and get the cutoff wheel right against right here on the nut, and then cut the threaded portion off on both of them. Now I just need to put the new ones back on. It's going to be hard to show, but I do have a bottle jack holding it up right here so that when I take these two 19mm bolts out, that it doesn't just drop down. And then what I'll do is I'll drop it down slowly and then remove the strut assembly bolt, and I also need to remove the brake line as well. Using an extension on a 17.5mm socket. I got the bottle jack holding it up. I'm not lifting or anything, I'm just holding it in place for now. This 17mm bolt on the bottom of the strut assembly was a little difficult to get out because I really couldn't get my impact wrench in there. And then I tried a different impact wrench with an extension. That didn't have enough power, so I had to break the bolt, not literally break it, but break the bolt using a regular wrench. And now I'm ready to pull that bolt out. So the 17mm bolt is now out of the bottom of the strut assembly. This is still supported by the bottle jack. Give me some more room to get the strut assembly out. Very limited space getting that strut assembly out, but it's out. Here is the driver's side rear strut assembly removed. You can, prior to pulling it out, adjust this tab. You can either cut it off or you can just bend it up. In this case, I bent it up. When you get a new one, it'll come with like a hook on it. I am comparing the two to each other to make sure that they are the same, because you definitely don't want to find out they're not the same. So this one obviously came off driver's side rear, so that would be the left side, and then this one here, left rear. So there's a sticker out, I must have taken it off, but So make sure they're exactly the same before we go and put it on. As previously stated, I had to cut the rear sway bar link off the driver's side rear. You see here's the two nuts with part of the bolt or threaded portion still on it. Both the inside of these were pretty corroded, so no matter what bit I put in it, it would not hold. So I just ended up cutting them off. So for the sway bar links for the rear, 512, 257, 599, that is the driver's side rear. And then there's the 512, 257, 601, which is the passenger side rear sway bar link. And these are a CarQuest brand from Advance Auto Parts. These were, I believe, $38 each. This is the driver's side rear strut assembly, and you can see the tab right here. This tab should be facing to the outside when you put it back on the car. It'll be a little difficult to show, but I am going to wrap this up. Top of the threaded heads finally in the hole. Now I just need to get it to go up. Now that I've got the strut assembly somewhat in, I'm going to go inside and put the two nuts on the top of the strut assembly so they'll be nice and tightened down. And then I'll start working on the bottom side. Don't do like I did and put these nuts on and then realize that the plate should have gone on. So the metallic plate cover needs to go on before you tighten these nuts down. So now we put this plate back on and start all over again. So now before I tighten those down, I'll make sure I get these bolts in so that I know that they'll line up. I've got the strut assembly bolt started from this end and it's barely poking through right here. I've got both the 17 millimeter bolts put back up in there. Now I need to put this brake cable back in place. This brake cable right here, I'm going to have to put that bolt back in there. So now I've got the 17 millimeter strut assembly bolt all the way in, tightened down, torqued it to spec, so that's done. Now I just need to put the new sway bar links in. nice thing about these sway bar links is you have the ability to put a thin wrench on the back side instead of just using a bit on the front. Use this 17mm ratchet wrench. Makes it a little bit quicker. So that's it. That's everything. Got the new sway bar link in. Got both the nuts taken down. Got the strut assembly in with the bolt running through the bottom, and the 2 bolts at the top on the inside of the vehicle, and then also the 2 bolts here, one there and one there, all tightened up. And then also put the brake line back on, and that is it. The driver's side rear is done, besides putting the tire back on.